We begin here with the newly released public opinion survey compiled for the Event Center Campus Task Force here in Sioux Falls. That task force is looking at the Premier Center, the Convention Center, the arena, the Birdcage, and all surrounding areas with an eye on what can be done to improve the area. The public survey was conducted between June 5th and 10th. The responses of 640 people, all of whom are Sioux Falls residents above the age of 18, were taken into consideration. That input will help shape the task force's final recommendations. This past Wednesday, the results of the Event Center Campus Task Force public survey were released. Questions centered around the current status of the Event Center and surrounding facilities and what the future could possibly hold.
We actually were hoping for about 400 responses. We got over 2,000, but in the interest of time, we really looked at those first 640. And yeah, the responses have been great. Really helps us lay out the foundation for the next 20, 30 years and what we want to do with the Event Center Task Force and the campus.
Eric Ikowski's day job is being South Dakota State Director for AARP, but he is also the chairman of the Public Input Committee for the Event Center Campus Task Force, meaning this survey was part of his responsibility. And when it comes to the number of people who wanted to take part and the thoughts they shared as part of the survey, Ikowski says he can't help but be pleased.
The people of Sioux Falls are really proud of what the city has accomplished in the last 30, 40 years, but they're also very engaged in what is happening into the future, whether it's thinking about where your grandkids are going to have to live with in Sioux Falls in the next 30, 40 years, what my generation thinks about in the next 30, 40 years, and what the generations coming up are still thinking about as well.
The results of this public survey provide some keen insight as to what residents of Sioux Falls feel are the needs for the Event Center complex. I asked Ikowski what stood out to him from what he has seen so far.
The key takeaway from my perspective, certainly the need to have connectivity between downtown and the event center, and really looking at transit options between a public option, Lyft, Uber, things of that nature to really make things more connected between downtown, maybe to even alleviate some of that parking issue.
22% of survey respondents say they describe the on-site parking situation at the Event Center complex as poor. Having the city's main entertainment and convention space not be in the downtown area and to have thriving businesses in downtown means more must be done to connect those two areas. When it comes to business development near the event center, the idea of more dining options clearly leads the way. 62% of survey respondents say they want to see more places to eat in the area. 70% say if there were, they would be more inclined to spend more time at the event center complex.
If you're bringing business leaders, you're bringing consumer advocate groups, you're bringing all kinds of city leadership together to really look at the future of what Sioux Falls is going to hold in the next 30, 40 years.
Ikowski says every part of this survey will be on the table as the city decides what to do next. And it's not just the event center that is on the table, however. The public survey also asked what should be done with the existing Sioux Falls arena.
There are multiple options in there. That is one of the options in terms of completely removing the arena and building additional space into the convention center, refurbishing the arena and adding conventions floor space. So both of those options are in there, and there's support for both of those opportunities.
As a standalone piece of the puzzle, 57% of those surveyed either said the arena isn't important or that they have no strong feelings about the arena. But 66% of those surveyed say the arena should either be remodeled into more convention space or outright demolished with new convention space to be built in its place. Only 17% say the arena should be maintained as is. And as for the neighboring Sioux Falls Stadium, the Birdcage, home of the Sioux Falls Canaries, it sits on the southeast corner of the Event Center campus, and for years people have theorized that moving the stadium to another area and using the land for parking or business development would be a better use for that part of the complex.
Looking at refurbishing it or demolishing it and rebuilding it elsewhere. There's both of those options are on the table, and they both have similar support in each of the survey results.
The public's intent on this is very nearly evenly mixed. 37% of those surveyed say the existing stadium should be demolished and rebuilt somewhere else. But close behind, 32% of those surveyed say the city should keep the stadium right where it is and renovate it. For Eric Ikowski and the rest of the Event Center Campus Task Force, it may be a situation of good news, bad news. The good news is they have options. The bad news is they have options and a decision to make.
It's nice to know that there's not a specific direction that the public has specifically said, and at least from my perspective, it's a really good opportunity to say that all options are really on the table, and let's do what's best for the city of Sioux Falls for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Over the next month now, the Events Center Campus Task Force will host a series of listening sessions. And once those are completed, the task force will then compile its final report with its final recommendations on what should or shouldn't be done in the area near the Premier Center.